I'm Rob Skinner, and this is the Rob Skinner Podcast. One of the themes of this podcast is make this life count and live a no regrets life. And I'm a big believer in getting out and having awesome experiences with God, getting outside, backpacking, surfing, diving, whatever I can to use my body and enjoy it. Today, I'm interviewing 3 people with me who went on a 15-mile backpacking trip down the Arizona Trail here. The Arizona Trail is a trail that goes 800 miles from Utah to Mexico, and we did one segment 5 today. So listen today as we recount our experience together. All this and more on the Rob Skinner Podcast. Welcome back to the Rob Skinner Podcast. My goal is to inspire you to live a no-regrets life, make this life count, and multiply disciples, leaders, and churches. We just got back from an awesome backpacking trip, and you're going to hear about that in just a few minutes. But I want to give a shout out to an unknown giver who donated to the Rob Skinner Podcast. Really appreciate that. Thank you so much for your support, and also for Melanie Yu for making a donation to the program. It makes such a huge difference, and that money can be used for the church, helping advance the gospel. Thank you so much, Melanie, for your support and making a difference, helping the podcast continue to reach people all over the world. If you feel like you're benefiting from the program, I'd like to ask you to support it with a gift, because your support enables me to multiply disciples, leaders, and churches and inspire other people to do the same thing. All you need to do is simply go to the show notes, and there's a link to support the program. Guys, welcome to the program.
Happy to be here.
All right, let me go ahead and go around and have you guys introduce yourselves.
Hi, I'm Nicholas Kaplan. I'm a senior at the University of Arizona.
Hi, I am Jacob Krell. I'm a 23-year-old graduate student in engineering at the U of A.
Hi, my name is Evan Snow.
Awesome to have you guys. All right, so we just got back from the Arizona Trail. We did Passage 5, which is about 14 miles long, and then an additional mile just to get on it. Okay, let's just initial experiences. Like we're still in our camping and backpacking clothes right here. We just came in, boom, back to my house and are doing an episode. Initial thoughts, initial experience?
You know, my legs are sore, but it was an awesome time.
That was great. It was great.
Yeah, it was my first trip. It was a really good experience. Really nice to be out in nature and get a little closer to God.
Okay, so Evan, this was your first time out there. Like, what were you anticipating? How was it different than what you thought?
So, you know, I was really expecting it to be like a really easy thing, and I was definitely not prepared at all for any of this. But it was nice to really just get out there and just, realize that everything that I need is taken care of by God, and, you know, he was able to provide for all of us the whole way through, and was able to get there safe, and it was a really, really fun experience.
It was so funny when you showed up at my house yesterday for our takeoff. Like, you had a tiny little backpack and no tent. And luckily, Nick was able to save the day. He had a backup backpack that you're able to use. And then when we got up there, no sleeping pad. You slept on the ground.
Yes.
How was that?
Yeah, it was great.
Luckily, I had a tarp that we could share underneath that together. I got to appreciate your toughness. Now, Jacob, you also went really ultralight. Can you tell me about what you brought along on the trip?
Just some clothes. Got a loaf of bread that I brought, some water, a sleeping bag, and a sweatshirt. That's about it. All you need. And a paper and some pencil.
Your backpack was, it was a small book bag. I mean, it wasn't even enough to cover, like children's books. It was so tiny. It was crazy. What'd you think, Nick?
Yeah, that was one small backpack. I looked at that and I was like, I think the bag I take around campus is larger than that backpack.
Now, Nick, you are actually an Eagle Scout. Can you tell me about how that's prepared you for backpacking?
Yeah, so I grew up just in and around a lot of nature. growing up, I would go camping with my family, and I was in the scouting program pretty much from first grade all the way kind of through 18 when I aged out. And I did a good amount of backpacking and just a lot of camping. And I think just a lot of that skill, especially kind of leading other younger scouts, really kind of trained me to look out not only for myself, but really for the people around me, and kind of having just the mental checklist of things that you want to make sure you have just to make sure the trip goes well.
Exactly. It's pretty awesome. Now, for these two guys, Jacob and Evan both slept on the ground. Of course, they had like a ground sheet, but I mean, it must have been pretty, it got cold. Let's go around and just share, like, what was the highlight of the trip and what was the most challenging?
Yeah, so for me, I just loved the views. Being out in nature is just probably the place I connect most with God. We just got back last weekend from a campus retreat up in Flagstaff, and I just felt super connected to God out there. So it was just a really great kind of boost to get out into nature again and just kind of keep that fire and inspiration going for another week.
Yeah, I found it great to get away from daily life and all of the temptations and distractions, and to focus on the simplicity of simply being alive and being connected with nature and interacting with it, exploring it. It was very, very refreshing.
Definitely, the highlight was a lot of great time to be in nature and pray. It's definitely something that I really appreciate about being in nature. And I'd say probably the biggest challenge was being completely unprepared and not knowing what I was getting myself into.
But that's what I appreciate about you guys. You just went with it and still like had a good time. I remember my first time backpacking. I was taken out by a friend, and we went up nearby, and it was just like crazy. I did everything wrong, but it was still a great experience, and you definitely learned from it. So would you do it again?
Absolutely.
Yeah?
Of course.
Absolutely. Okay, of course, you've done it quite a few times, Nick, yourself. Let's just talk a little bit about the passage itself. Like, what did you see? What was it like? It was passage 5 in between Oak Trail, Canyon Head, and then Apache Springs.
Yeah, it was beautiful. You just got just incredible views, just kind of 360 just at very points in the trail. It looks so different from Tucson, almost any other part of Arizona I've been in. The trail itself was definitely a challenge. There were definitely some pretty intense inclines that definitely, I think, had us all struggling there a little bit, kind of middle of yesterday. But yeah, it was just awesome.
Yeah, there were lots of tall grass, lots of loose rocks, but there were some trees, and that's always nice. The mountains surrounded us. That was beautiful. And yeah, we didn't see any people. We saw one person, or a couple people. There was a caretaker. That was interesting to kind of be in solitude.
Right. Kentucky Camp, we stopped through there, and it's an old mining camp in a building. There's like a caretaker there. Luckily, there's running water because water was pretty hard to find along the trail. That was a pretty interesting little stop there. Yeah,
it was a lot of very scenic, outlooks. Kind of when you come around a lot of those turnarounds and stuff. So it's always a very beautiful scenery here in Arizona.
Yeah,
not a lot of people, which is nice.
I mean, that's cool. You were talking about the difference between the East Coast and West Coast. You want to talk about that?
Yeah, so I grew up in Virginia, and I mean, there's tons of trails out there, but you're just like surrounded in tree cover constantly anytime you go on a hike. And here you're just in these fields, and there's tall grasses and there's some trees, but you can just see for just miles and miles. And when you look out, it's not like, oh, there's a town right there. Like you truly can feel like you are just totally just isolated from all human civilization, which is just a really cool experience.
It's just cool. Yeah, that's one thing I love about Arizona. It's just like unlimited vistas. I mean, it just like 50, 100 miles. You can see all the way into Mexico, all the way up north. It's really phenomenal. Now, Jacob, you recently came from West Virginia. How does that strike you as being different?
It's a lot less trees here, but just as beautiful. The mountains here are more mountainous, less of hills. Yeah, it's an awesome change.
It was really fun to get out. We had like a walking quiet time yesterday where we shared memory scriptures. We prayed together along the way. We did a discipleship study together last night and went through what it means to be a disciple. That was fantastic right around the campfire. Jesus walked everywhere. I was just recently doing I'm going to actually preach on this tomorrow in Matthew 16. Jesus left the lake. He went up to Caesarea Philippi. The commentator said it's about a 25-mile walk. Jesus hiked everywhere. He probably never walked on asphalt like we do. It's probably rocky, very much similar to what we're seeing here in Arizona, dry. What do you drive spiritually from like a time away backpacking?
For me, it's just the lack of distractions between you and God. And, I think when you're on campus or in your car, it's really easy to pop in an audiobook or music and just kind of spend that time just thinking about other things. But really, when you're backpacking, just God is what fills your mind because you're just in nature and you're in creation. And I think it's just, for me, a challenge just as I'm just back kind of going throughout my life, just to make that space for God just on campus, to not have my like headphones in or be listening to something, but really just kind of keep that space for God.
Yeah, for me, it's a lot of gratitude, almost like a forced gratitude, because there aren't the distractions like Nick said. So you just have to deal with it and find the joy in it. And the joy is that you have closed-toed shoes. You don't have sandals like Jesus would have had. You have a sleeping bag, sometimes without a pad underneath. But, even then, you've at least got a bag. And, there's a tent, lightweight, don't need to forage for sticks, don't need to build a shelter at the camp. You can simply set up in 15 minutes.
Yeah.
And just a lot of gratitude.
Yeah, I'd definitely say it's kind of this cool realization that you don't really need anything to live, and really how little you can live with, and just as long as you've got God and occasionally some water
and some mashed potatoes.
That's right. Okay, let's talk about the food last night. What did you guys think? What was on the menu? How was it?
Yeah, so the main menu was hot dogs and instant mashed potatoes, followed by a little bit of ramen. And man, all of us were just downing those hot dogs and those mashed potatoes. We went through all of everything we brought.
It was awesome to see the amount of carnage just going, like 4 hot dogs per person, 2 massive family-sized bags of mashed potatoes. It was really fun. What'd you think, Jacob?
Oh, it was great. The hot dogs kept coming. The mashed potatoes kept coming. I was ready to go with just a loaf of bread, but it's good.
I know we burned like 3,000 calories. That's crazy over the course of, the 15-mile hike. But I know for sure we consumed more than 3,000 calories of food. So I think we're still in surplus here. It was awesome. Now, Jake, what I find interesting, Evan, you've got a special condition. Okay, how is that? Can you share a little bit about that?
Sure. So I have type 1 diabetes, and I suppose it didn't really stop me or hinder me at all during the hike. Just making sure that I have my medication with me, and wasn't really too big of a deal at all.
Yeah, that's one thing that really impresses me about you is you've got this really big disability, and yet it doesn't stop you from getting outside, serving God. It's really awesome. It's been awesome since you became a Christian. It was a couple months ago, I guess. Is that right? 2 months? No, 1 month?
Yeah.
Not that long ago. It's really been amazing. Great time. I think one of the things I just love about backpacking is you get close with people. You got all you have time for is just talking, just chatting. I mean, it is really a great time to get to know each other. Nick, we've known each other a while. Evan, we studied the Bible together. You got baptized about a month ago. And Jacob, we've been studying the Bible recently, just maybe the last month, ever since you moved here to Tucson, which has been fantastic. But it is so powerful. What advice would you give to a person who might be interested in backpacking but has some hesitations?
Just do it.
Okay.
Yeah, just full send. Don't think about it. Just go for it.
Yeah, pack light is the number one thing, and I think just go out and just start with like a 5-mile hike and just kind of just get out there and just do it and just take it easy. And I think just build from there, but don't let the the dauntingness, I guess, of like a 30 miles in a day stop you from doing like a 5 or 6 mile backpacking trip that just is you're gonna have just as much fun on that.
Exactly. It is so much fun. And I was sharing with you guys, it's kind of a different kind of fun. It's like when you're in the middle of it, there's times you go, why did I do this? This is like, I'm hot, I'm sweaty, I'm dirty, my feet hurt. But then when you look back, you go, that was awesome. It was a great experience. It's kind of on my Goddard list, my bucket list, to do the Arizona Trail. So I'm doing it in segments, and I've probably done, I don't know, 5 or 6, which is really awesome. And so I'm hoping to get all that done before I die. But, you know, if you're interested in backpacking, man, don't stop. What really helped me was getting with someone who knew what they were doing and just getting out there, because you learn by doing it. After the first time, I was like, okay, I got to make a lot of changes, and there's a lot of good books on it. But anyway, guys, so much fun. Thank you so much for going with me on this last backpacking trip. I hope it's not the last one we do together. And next time it'll be even better. Any final comments?
Yeah, I love backpacking.
Yep, thank you all for listening. Another thing, just go out there, do it, but also make mistakes. You're not going to get it perfect the first time. You're not going to get it perfect the last time. Just go do it, and it's okay to make mistakes.
Yeah, it's just always amazing to be out in nature with God, and just always trusting in Him that He'll deliver you.
Thanks for listening to the program. Here's how you can help support it. First of all, let your friends know about the podcast. Secondly, read and review one of my books, either How to Plant and Grow a Church or Courage, How to Make This Life Count. Finally, support the program with a gift today. The link is in the show notes, because my goal is to inspire you to make this life count, live a no-regrets life, and multiply disciples, leaders, and churches. Have a great day, and make this life count.